Question. Hi Kim. I created certain structures in my identity, mental and emotional bodies that are limiting me. Furthermore, I also have significant amount of karma which also restricts me. Thankfully, the teachings of the Ascended Masters give me hope that I can undo my limiting structures in my identity, mental and emotional minds, even if doing so might require decades or even multiple future incarnations. I have a rudimentary sense whereby I can tell whether I'm on the right track of undoing my limiting structures. My karma, on the other hand, is ruthless and disheartening because I have never been able to sense how much of my karmic debt have I already repaid and how much of it I still owe. It is like constantly being beaten up by my personalized prison cell while watching years and even decades of my life to go by without having a clue of the time of my release from the prison of my karmic debt. Is there a way to sense if I'm reducing my karmic debt? I'm stuck in a constant cycle of discouragement by gaining hope that my life circumstances can change for the better by changing problematic aspects of my psychology, only to lose it all by realizing that no matter what improvements I have made, I wasn't even in the vicinity of being enough to counteract my karmic debt. As a result, nothing got better in my life. My questions are, what valuable lessons could be learned from failing to free myself from my limitations? 2. If absolutely nothing gets better by the end of my current embodiment, despite my most sincere spiritual efforts, can I, as the conscious you, request and receive permission to obliterate myself through the second death? Sometimes I feel that even the complete obliteration of my life stream would be better than to keep existing in a state where I'm going through the cycle of discouragement again and again and again. Okay, so the first thing I would say here is that it seems that the person has not quite grasped the Ascended Master's teachings about karma. And it's understandable because it's different than most of the teachings about karma out there. Traditional Eastern teachings about karma will say karma is the result of action, something you did in a past life, like say, you killed somebody in a past life, and this is going to come back in this lifetime by you being killed, or whatever. So you did something bad in past life, that's why you have limiting circumstances in this life, and bad things keep happening to you. So it's like an outer thing. But what the Ascended Masters have explained is that karma is not a punishment. It's actually an opportunity to learn. So, first of all, why is karma delayed? Why isn't there instant karma? You kill somebody, you're struck by lightning, and you die. Well, it's because everything we do is an expression of our state of consciousness. And our state of consciousness is not determined at the physical level, but in our three higher bodies, the emotional, mental, and identity bodies. And the important point about Earth is not what happens at the physical, but what happens in the mind. So, you have structures in your identity, mental and emotional minds that cause you to take a certain physical action. That creates an energetic impulse. But the impulse has to cycle through the energy system on Earth before it comes back to you as a physical return of karma. And the importance of this delay factor is that this gives you the chance to change the contents of your identity, mental and emotional bodies before the physical karma comes back. In other words, you could change your mind. So you have a certain state of mind that causes you to take a physical action. If you were, say you kill somebody, if you were killed instantly, would you necessarily learn from it? But by delaying it, you have a chance to change your state of mind, and if in a future lifetime you have changed so you wouldn't kill somebody, you don't have to be killed in that lifetime. So in other words, the karmic impulse cycles through the energy system on Earth. It starts coming back to you in your identity body. If you change the structures in your identity body that cause you to do the physical action, there's nothing there that multiplies that energetic impulse. In fact, it will be reduced somewhat. Then it goes into the mental. If you have also changed the mental structures, then again it's reduced. It goes into the emotional. If you have changed the emotional structures, which I'm talking about these subconscious cells all the time, then again there's nothing to multiply it. So what can happen is that either the karmic impulse, the physical impulse, is reduced in strength, so you don't have to be killed. Even if you kill somebody, something else might happen that's unpleasant, but it's not as bad. Or maybe there is no physical outcome because there's nothing to multiply. If, on the other hand, you haven't changed the structures in your mind, then the karma will descend to the physical. Okay, so back to the question. The person is basically saying, I found Ascended Master teachings, and I have been willing to use them to look at my psychology and change my psychology. And I have made progress on this. But the person is also saying, this might take the rest of this life or even future lifetime to fully resolve my psychology. So you see what I'm saying here? The person is asking, why do I keep having this karmic return in the physical that makes my life very unpleasant? Well, it's because there's still something you haven't resolved in your emotional, mental, and identity bodies. Now, we are all different people, right? And we have had different past lifetimes. So it's clear that some people have more karma than others. And I have talked in several videos about a life plan that we make before we come into this incarnation, in this physical body. We make a life plan with our spiritual teachers. And it depends partly on our situation from past lives, our karmic situation, our psychology. So there can be people who are saying, no, let me step back a little bit. Over many past lifetimes, you can have made progress in terms of being more willing to take responsibility for your own psychology. And once you make that change, that you're willing to take responsibility for your own psychology, you can, your karmic, your divine plan, your life plan is taken to a higher level. And obviously this person is talking about being willing to look at psychology, so this person has taken responsibility. Right? So it's possible that a person can say, I see that I have a lot of karma from distant past lives that are about to come due in the physical. I see that I have a certain psychology that I haven't resolved yet. But you can choose to say, I want to get this physical karma back in my next lifetime in order to, so to speak, force myself to deal with the psychology. And also, in a sense, to have the karma balanced. So let's step back a little bit and talk about balancing karma. In Eastern teachings, you kill somebody in a past life, in a future lifetime you're killed. Supposedly that nullifies the karma. You have, so to speak, balanced the scales. You make karma, the scale goes down on one side, you have the return of physical return of karma, the scales are balanced. That's the Eastern way. The Ascended Masters are saying that balancing the karma can happen in two ways. You can resolve the psychology, so you don't have to have the physical return. If you have the physical return, then that also gives a certain balance of the karma. But if you haven't resolved the psychology, you might create future karma. So that means you have balanced the karma you made in a distant past life, but you can make new karma that will come back to you because you haven't resolved the psychology. And that's why the Masters are emphasizing the need to resolve psychology. That is really the ultimate way to balance karma. Because the old Eastern way that you have the physical return and the karma is gone, yeah, that particular karmic impulse you created in a past life, But what prevents you from making new karmic impulses when you have the same psychology, you see? So that's why the Master is all about resolving psychology. But what I'm saying is, you can decide, in this lifetime, I want to have a certain physical return of karma, so I can get it over with. You are in a sense saying, I'm sacrificing one lifetime in order to have a better next lifetime. You're also saying, by dealing with the karma, having the physical return of karma, I can force myself to look at the psychology that makes the karma descend to the physical level that I haven't resolved yet. And that's why I would say to this person, forget about this second death stuff. You don't want to be obliterated. It's not in your life plan to be obliterated. It's most likely in your life plan that you wanted to have the greatest return of karma in this lifetime to set yourself up for a better next lifetime, where you don't have the physical karma and you can really make spiritual progress. But another aspect of this is you wanted to, as I said, the reason why you have the physical return is there's something you haven't resolved in your subconscious mind. And part of wanting this physical return was to force yourself to deal with that psychology. And that's why I'm saying for the rest of this lifetime, keep looking into your psychology. Use the tools and the teachings to see what it is. Go to therapy if you can at all, do so. And seek help from whatever source. Read books about psychology. Get to resolve as much psychology as possible. Because again, what I'm saying is, you seem to think that psychology is one thing, karma is something else. And what I'm saying is, they are connected. If you have a physical return of karma, because there's something in the psychology you have not resolved. So seek to resolve that with everything that's available to you. And I guarantee you that when you go out of embodiment after this lifetime, you will not want to go through the second death, because you will see that there was a greater purpose, even though this was a very difficult lifetime, still a greater purpose for us. It has led towards something positive, and you can then have a better next lifetime. So really just focus on the psychology. Forget all about this second death stuff. You don't want to be obliterated. Nobody wants to be obliterated, okay? It's at least not the default reaction. And again, if you're open to looking at your psychology, you don't want to be obliterated. That's just the subconscious self. So maybe go after that subconscious self. I understand fully. Well, maybe not fully, but I understand. You can have so much karma, life can be so difficult, you feel like if I didn't exist, it would be easier. I understand you can feel that way. But it is just really because you're overwhelmed by the karma, by the psychology, and once you go out of embodiment, where you are not so overwhelmed, you will not feel that way.